this awesome Thursday, October the 5th, I believe it is, 2023, where we are having a community information update meeting. We're hoping that this will be a continual process so that we can be able to input and be able to get feedback in order to move through the system. I want to introduce you to the awesome retired Captain Samantha Jones.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I just want to, let me stand. I want to thank you all and commend you all for coming out. This means a lot, and this shows that we really have a concern and we really care about our community. So from the deepest part of my heart, I thank you all. And I should have said this Tuesday night, but I didn't. Back in 2006 and 2008, when Commissioner Jimmy Tate had the water bond on the ballot, I was at the polls working, and there was just so many rumors going around that your taxes was going to go up. It has nothing to do with your taxes. That we were going to be made to connect to the water system. That is a lie also. So a lot of people got discouraged and voted against the bond. Last night, my mother and I went out into the community, and guess what? People are still confused and don't understand the water connection setup. So we have our work to do. So what I'm hoping that we all will accomplish at the end of this meeting is to go out, share the information that you learned tonight. It's very important that we educate people, the young as well as the old. The rumor was, oh, it's mostly the elders. Well, I spoke to some young people last night. They said, we have water, we have our well water. And if we vote yes for it, they're going to force us to connect. That is not so. So I'm pleading with you tonight, when you leave these meetings, about the water connection, focused broadband, and the well water. Please go out and share it in your churches, share it in your neighborhood. We have to start having these conversations so we can get what we need. Thank you. Thank you.
And now we're going to hear from Commissioner Jackie Newton.
I don't need that thing. You know, as an elected official, it pleases me and it actually thrills me when members of the community and leaders in the communities come to us and let us know their concerns and tell us what we can do, what they need, and what their hopes are. That gives us some direction in how to proceed, because quite frankly, nothing gets done without the support of people who put us in office. So thank you for being here. I want to thank Ms. Samantha Jones for pulling all this together and getting out in the community and doing the hard work both in 2006 and 2008 on the prior water issues. I want to thank Dr. Richard Newkirk for agreeing to MC this for us. And most of all, I want to thank the folks that have come to bring you and present to you the information that you have requested here this evening regarding focused broadband and internet access, and our county staff regarding our options for expansion of the water system. So thank you and enjoy. At the end of each segment, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. We will be hearing from Focused Broadband. We will be hearing from the Health Department, Environmental Resources. We will be hearing from our Utilities Department. So we're going to, as we did last Tuesday night, post this meeting on our website so that you can share it with others if you found that it was beneficial to you and the issues that you're concerned about. So thank you. So we're ready to proceed.
All right. Our first presentation is from Focused Broadband. Mr. Ward, Chris Ward, I think, is in charge.
I'm definitely not in charge. Can everybody hear me? Did we know about yes, sir. Right there. First, let me introduce who's with me. I have Ryan Hill. He's one of our business development coordinators from Focused Broadband, and my vice president of customer service. Jody Eustace, and marketing. We're going to all three talk to you a little bit. I do see a lot of familiar faces, so I apologize up front for the redundancy. But we want to make sure everybody understands the reason why we're here. I know everybody wants things done faster than yesterday, but we want to make sure people understand that we are working through a federal grant, which means we have to follow federal rules. And we'll talk a little bit about that more in just a second. Yes, sir. So we actually started working with the county before COVID, back in 2019. Commissioner Newton, we met with the Dean County manager, assistant managers, and the number one priority that Commissioner Newton had, at least that she expressed to us at the time, was the lack of internet. We all know with COVID, when they send your children home and they tell you to work from home and you don't have internet, it's useless. That's why we got kids reading and performing below grade level right now, because they couldn't learn at home. You know, everybody tried to help out with Wi-Fi and hotspots and those things, and they're great, but we do know our children were left behind. A part of what we did in 2019 was start working on a design to cover about 75% of Pender County. And you can look up there on the map, we basically covered the majority of the county other than the I-40 corridor. When we presented our application to the United States Department of Agriculture, we had about $250,000 worth of work done on engineering and other things before we could present it. At that time, back in 2020, it was actually September the 11th, the USDA Commissioner of USDA, Mr. Sonny Perdue, former governor of Georgia, actually came to Pender County to make the announcement. We won a $21.6 million grant to go along with about $7.2 million of our own money. So we've got a lot of skin in the game in this as well. That project is a little over 7,000 address points. Not every address point is a house or a business, but 7,000 addresses through GIS. We currently have service available out of those 7,000 to right at 2,000 addresses throughout Caswell, Holly Shelter, and the Grady area. We have construction currently taking place in many of those same areas to over 1,300 addresses. So we're about 4,300, 4,500 addresses will have service in the very near future when you put those together. Every month we're starting new phases. And I know you've got a lot of stuff to do at this meeting. I really wish we had an opportunity to talk to folks individually, because we have maps over there that show phases, and phases are based on switch locations. Switch locations are throughout Pender County based on square miles and other variables of what we can serve. So just because you're in one area, somebody 1 mile down the road may be served from a different switch. So that construction may stop there and not go 1 more mile, because that construction is coming from a whole different area that has to connect back to the other phase. So there's a lot of things to look at geographically on that map that would probably answer a lot of your questions or concerns. We're, once again, pointing back to the map, there's a lot of work that's will be done in the Burgaw and Wallace areas, and that's a large portion of where you folks will be served out of the Burgaw and the Wallace OLT. Those contracts to allow us to do that work are right now in Washington, D.C. at the Department of Agriculture. We're waiting on them to release them. As soon as they release them to us, we have contractors ready and willing to start that work in those areas. We're on the 421 corridor here, and that's the majority of what those phases are at this point. Not only did we apply for a federal grant, but also during COVID, there was billions of dollars our government gave away to try to keep the economy afloat, and part of that was the North Carolina Great Grant System has about $1 billion, or North Carolina has about $1 billion. They spent about 3/4 of that in the Great Grant System. We went back to Pender County because once we announced our major USDA grant, people said, well, I'm not in that. Well, we went back and looked. We did a survey with the county. We did a digital inclusion plan with the county, all at our expense, to find out where other people live that did not have service. That culminated in a great grant that was announced last year in 2022, and I say announced because that just means you won it. That don't mean you can start or do anything. But that grant's over $4 million, and this time Pender County and Focus are both contributing a little over $500,000. So that's a $5 million project. So quick math, we're bringing about $33 to $35 million into Pender County. That if you have Spectrum before, you had AT&T, or whoever you had, they all could have applied for these funds, but they decided not to because there's no money to be made in these rural areas. Companies like us, we're cooperative, our members own us in our cooperative area. The only reason why we exist is because we were in parts of Brunswick County that other companies wouldn't come serve. So it's the same thing with you guys. You're in a rural area, they can't make money off of you, so they're not bringing you these latest services. When we get done with both of these projects, and this project has about 1,200 additional addresses, so we're talking right about 8,200 addresses in Pender County. 99% of the internet issue in Pender County will be solved when these two projects are completed. The good news about these two projects is they overlap in a lot of areas, and you can see that on the map. And where they overlap, we'll be working on them simultaneously. So that is a good news for everybody, so we don't have to finish one to start the other. These two projects will coincide and work together. So, once again, like I said, the maps give you a better indication. I'll stand up here, hopefully I don't get anybody's way. All the green areas, and actually a lot of this yellow is now green because we just turned this area up this past week, have service. All the yellow areas have construction taking place. And all the blue areas, especially this area, this is where we're at today, right here, 421 corridor, right along here. This whole area, some of this is coming out of the Wallace OLT, some of this is coming out of the Pergol OLT, but this whole area basically has been submitted to the USDA. I think you said somewhere around $11 million in contracts potentially. Somewhere around $11 million, and if we're on a $30 million project, that's a third of it. So that's what's sitting on somebody's desk in Washington DC waiting to get approved. All right. If you know anybody looking for a job, we are having, we have job openings. We're currently trying to find engineering positions in Pender County. We've already got a warehouse and 2 customer care positions filled. If you know where Fort County Electric's office is going to Burgaw, our office is right across the street from it, which that was strategically placed because I imagine most of you folks are Fort County customers. If it hadn't been for Fort County, we wouldn't have had service available as early as we did. Fort County has allowed us to use their fiber to not only go throughout Pender County, but also Duplin County. And we needed that because when we tried to get fiber under the river to come from Columbus and Blaine County, 2 contractors failed at doing that. So that took months. So Pender County, you're very lucky to have Fort County EMC here to help us as well because we ride on a lot of their fiber and now it's a symbiotic relationship. We're helping each other.
You love that Fort County.
Yeah, Fort County's just like us. They do power, we do internet. We're both cooperatives. Hopefully that store will have a groundbreaking this winter. If you've driven by it in the last few months, it looks like it's ready on the outside. It's just the fine details inside have not been completed. One thing I want people to do, if you have to do it on your cell phone or go get Wi-Fi somewhere else, go to getfocusedbroadband.com. There's a map or there's a drop down, select Pender County, and it'll bring up a map of everything you're seeing tonight. And that map is updated in real time. So if you ever go and look at that, you can see progress. Also, there's a place on that website for you to leave your information. If you leave your information, all that does is give us permission to contact you to say, hey, Mr. Smith, service is now available at Caswell Point. So I invite and encourage you to do that, have your neighbors do it or do it for them, because that way you'll be the first people to know, because as soon as that service is available, we get on the phone and start calling. That pretty much is the end of my presentation. We're open for questions at this point.
Can you reflect 10-8 on gas?
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is faster at your 2022?
All right, that was the North Carolina grant that was awarded in 2022. And that's our internal name for that because we've got grants all over the place. So Faster Pender 22 just denotes that it's Pender grant that was won in 2022. And that's a state grant. The big $30 million grant or the $30 million project is mainly made up of a grant from the federal government. So the federal government's giving away billions and the state government's doing the same thing. So we're using every resource available for us to get an internet service to Pender County.
many different types of internet plans do you have, and what are the prices of them?
We've got several, depending upon what your needs are. We've got 300 meg symmetrical. We don't do data caps, so anybody that's got HughesNet or something of that nature, or like a hotspot, you know, it's sort of like riding in a taxi cab. The further you go, it counts everything that you're doing every mile. Well, all the data that you use on those is counted. We don't do that. We have no data caps on our service. We have a 300 symmetrical plan, which means 300 download, 300 upload, and it's $57.95. And what I'm giving you are not promotional plans. Like if you go to a Spectrum web page or something, you'll usually see internet for $49.95 or $59.95, but that's a promotional price. Our regular everyday pricing for that plan is $57.95. We do a symmetrical 500 meg plan for $67.95. We do a symmetrical gigabit plan, which is 1,000 meg, is at $77.95. We have one of the things I'm really proud of is we are a company that takes part in the Affordable Connectivity Program, ACP program. I don't know how many people know about that, but I think everybody ought to know about that. It's a federal program that started during COVID, where the federal government gives a stipend, or provides a discount to qualifying households for broadband service each month. And the discount is $30. And what you do is you go to the FCC website, you say that you want to apply for it. There are certain criteria that you would meet. It can be based on certain qualification for other federal programs, federal aid programs. It could qualify based on income. If there's a child in your household enrolled in a public school in a county where that school gets free lunch, then you qualify for it. But it essentially gives a $30 discount on an internet service each month. And so we take part in that, and we offer a 50 meg plan that we price at $30. So someone who qualifies for the ACP program, signs up for it, can subscribe to this $30 program and get 50 meg internet for free. We also have a 100 meg internet program for those who qualify for the ACP program, and for those who also sign up for the FCC's Lifeline program, which is a $9.99 a month separate discount program. We will match that $9.99, so there'd be a $30 discount under ACP, a $9.99 on the Lifeline program, and then another $9.99 that we match, which would be right at $50. We offer a 100 meg with Wi-Fi program for whatever those three things add up to. So you'd be able to get 100 meg with Wi-Fi at no cost, as long as those programs exist. So that's where we are. In Brunswick County, we've rolled out a 2 gigabyte plan and a 5 gigabyte plan, which is honestly overkill, but it won't be in a few years. But we have those also that we would be introducing every year at some point. But Lord knows, gig internet, I have 500 meg at my house, and that's gracious plenty, and I probably have at least 24 devices connected to it, between iPads, all my televisions are streaming, my security system, my cameras, all kind of stuff. Everything, I don't know what my kids have connected to it, but it handles it all.
All that information you just told me I can access on that website.
Not on that one. These are Chris said I want FocusBroadband.com, and it'll do that. Get Focus Broadband. I call it the one for the project that I like to direct people to is simpler, FasterPender.com.
Okay.
And that will give you project information, but FocusBroadband.com has got our pricing and everything on it. We offer cable TV, but I don't think you ought to take it. Cable TV is a terrible business. We don't make any money on it. prices go up every year. I would just assume you buy internet from me and subscribe to a streaming service where you can kind of pick and match what you want. And your internet would be good enough to be able to do that. We also have a telephone service that's unlimited nationwide calling and all the features for $19.99 a month. So, who pays for the hookup? Normally what we have been doing with these is doing free installation. We will cover the drop from, like when the line goes down the road, the main line that we build, well, there's still the connection that's got to get to each individual house that's buried through the yard. And so we'll cover that drop up to a certain number of feet off the road, and honestly, 95% of the drops that we put in fall within that range. And we do the installation at no cost, normally for new customers.
How many feet that drop cover?
It's 1,000.
1,000 feet.
Because I was about a mile off the road.
I hope to God that the main line goes by your house, and that you're not the only one that's about a mile off the road. 'Cause
Right.
we that's a long way. Putting in fiber, burying it is, in Pender County, is costing us $77,000 per mile. And if there's one house at the end of that road that's $77,000, that would be tough.
Yeah.
Question on your set-up television, like we got DirecTV here,
Yes,
and if the wind blows wrong, it's out.
right.
So you were saying about the cable.
I would go DirecTV streaming here, and then you're not using your satellite, you're using the internet service.
Yeah, but you don't channel.
Once, well,
Well, we
Come
have.
talk to me. I got it. Come talk to me.
We have cable. We offer it. Ours isn't any less than anyone else's. For every dollar we take in cable, we're sending 91 cents out to the programmers because they charge so much that the price is now over $100 a month for this stuff, and they don't let you just sell people the channels that they want. They make you sell everything, and they've blown the thing up. And we're trying our best to really get out of that business. What I'd rather do is sell you a really strong internet connection, and then you choose what you want, right? If you like Netflix, subscribe to Netflix. If you want to do YouTube TV, which has a lineup very similar to cable, do that. If you want to subscribe to Hulu, which they're all of these services are basically virtual streaming cable subscriptions, and they can offer you a better deal than I can because my contracts are expensive. Spectrum's are. I don't know that cable TV is going to exist in the next 5 years the way you know of it. That's why there's all these different programming companies or streaming services that are out there. What I'm saying is you're going to have really good internet, where today streaming is not an option, but you will be able to pick and choose what you want to do with that. When you have DirecTV, and I've had it before when I didn't live in our service area, it adds up. Our service we call Merge TV. I'll tell you about it. It's called Merge TV. It is less than DirecTV, and we have boxes that you can rent that work. Or if you've got a certain smart TVs or things like a Fire Stick, you can download our Merge TV app on it and use that as your cable box and not have to pay a cable box fee. It also comes with 100 hours of DVR included with it. It's essentially like YouTube TV or Hulu Live or Sling TV. It's our version. It's by the company that supports it. Actually, is ours is a TiVo product.
I noticed you have, your different little nodes around that have it's like gas and stuff. From a storm situation, when, I know y'all been in Brunswick County for a few years, how's that working? I mean, you're building a pretty resilient looking system, and I know the end point, we have to have power at the end. But have you seen to have any problems during storms or hurricanes?
We put, at each one of these OLT sites that we've got, we put a generator out there and we put a fuel tank out there. So that's normally got the capability to keep us up until commercial power comes back up. But if the power goes out for everybody, it's sort of what goes to the internet anyway. So, but we do build in redundancy with generator backup and everything at each of our OLT sites. Fiber, and Chris could speak to this, fiber is more resilient, than a coax network, and we've got a coax network, and what we're putting in, the fiber network we're putting in now, should be able to last this area for 40 years. I mean, right now, it will do 5 gig, right? But with fiber, it's got unlimited capacity to carry data. So if you just change the electronics on the end, I would imagine 20 years from now, the typical broadband speed might be 100 gig, right? And fiber will carry it, it's just changing the electronics. So we're putting in an infrastructure that's gonna have a lot of longevity. 2003, the typical broadband package offered by us and offered by Spectrum was 5 meg. That's what everybody was selling, 5 meg for like $60. Now, 5 meg is like 5 miles per hour. What we're offering for the gig is 1,000 miles per hour. So,
well, we had it in Jersey. We had a program in Jersey.
right.
But the cost keeps going up, and you have to sign a contract.
No, sir.
So now you
No,
can drop
sir.
it anytime you want.
We don't do contracts. No.
So
What we keep people with is our service.
Well, what about devices, like cameras and stuff like that? Like you said, the lowest speed is 500, right?
The lowest speed we offer is 50.
50?
50 meg, right. But with 50 meg, you can still do some cameras. You can stream with 50 meg. You can do a lot of stuff with 50 meg. 50 meg 5 years ago was really capable.
Because all we have out here is Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And the phone keeps changing, the phone companies keep changing. You know, we'll have 5 gigs. So I called them, they only have one satellite in this area. And the next closest one is 18 miles. So, you know, as you add people to the system,
Yep.
will it slow it down?
No.
No?
Fiber, again, has virtually limitless capacity. So it's
So you get any phone?
it's not a shared bandwidth application.
Sir,
Yes, ma'am.
could you name the areas that's in the 2 contracts that is sitting in Washington DC, so everybody will know, since we cannot read that stuff from where we're sitting?
Yeah.
So,
Chris will show you.
I mentioned earlier, we're on the 421 corridor,
Mm-hmm.
which is here, 421 and 11. This area that you see in blue is what's sitting in Washington DC waiting for approval.
What's the
Like I
name
said,
of
it's
the
about
area?
$11 million in this area that
Yeah.
we've seen.
What's the name of the area? The little community. Yeah, the names that you got up there.
Now, hold on a second, you live here.
I do.
I'll tell you what.
Well, that's when they clock corridor.
That's northwest corner of 421 Castle County area. That's Columbia County. Northwest
Right
corner.
here. And we're actually right about here, I
Yeah.
think.
Right.
So, if you live anywhere in this area,
What's the other names that are up there on that map? There's some names I can see. from
those
here,
are
but I
street
can't-
names. You want me to
Yeah,
tell you the street?
Yeah, tell me what the street name is.
North Carolina 11, Highway 421, Pineywood, Ward's Corner, Malcolm's Corner,
Point Caswell.
Ryan Crossroads, Fort Caswell, Yamacraw,
Yeah.
Brooks, Curry, Atkinson. But this area here like I said, is sitting and waiting in Washington. We're also working on the eastern side of the county as well, moving up on the opposite side of I-40. I-40 is right here through the middle of the county. Everybody here in this white area already has service. They're not, they don't need
What road
service.
is that where it turns from green to blue there going to the west?
It's not, it's a creek. It's
Okay.
Forest Creek, Woodmore.
Well, but Morris Creek goes more north. I'm talking about the one that goes. west.
Morris Creek currently has service available.
Up, right, up, right there, between those two, where it turns green to blue. What's
I don't have anything on this map. It just says 421 going into
You
Sampson
talking about,
County.
just play your finger right there, you stop that.
That's
Right there,
us.
drop down, right there, that's where it goes across.
What road you got in there?
There's no roads on this map.
If your road is in that,
No place is left out. So if you're anywhere in this area, you're included.
unless you are a single person,
5,000 feet on the road.
over 5,000, that would be an issue. So the the left side of this map, the left side of this map that is blue, that contract that he talked about that we're waiting on to get approval. And again, we mentioned this at the first meeting, but when you're using federal dollars, it's a three-step process. The first thing you have to do is you have to figure out who your contractors might be, so there's a process for that. And then when you figure out who you want to work with in terms of what their pricing is, you have to get permission from the feds to negotiate an agreement with them. And once you get that permission, you get their price, you have to get permission separately on the specs of the project.
The design of where
The
you're going.
design and the specs, and once you do that, then you put the pricing and the contractor and the specs together, then you have to send back a final contract and get it approved. So it's a three-step process every time, and you have to send it to Washington, and someone up there, whoever does it, looks at it and they approve it on their timeline. We have had contracts that have been held up where literally when we found out what happened, the person had been off on a sabbatical for 3 weeks and nobody was checking their email. So federal dollars, federal rules, and that's been a limiting factor of it. But I feel like we're on these two contracts, we're on the final approval for those. And so those areas, those are the next agreement that we've got, and I think it's going to take those, we'll start building on those, and that'll take, working on all, and building all of that will take through most of 2024. We've got other stuff on 2025 that's still on the other side of I-40, the Maple Hill and Angola and some of the Holly Shelter areas that are still in design, and they're probably gonna be late 24 into 25. But I think this is a group of folks who are on the west side, and you're before folks on the east side. The way this project was done is this money is for unserved addresses only. Now, you may pass some served addresses on the way to get to some unserved addresses that we can also serve, but we use FCC data, and we use state data, and we use surveys that we did back in early 2020, late 2019, and we put the grant together. And at the time, if you had access to internet that was greater than 25 meg down or 3 meg up, it was ineligible. So all of the areas in the federal grant had internet below those thresholds. And in the state grant, we were able to tack on to it because, as Chris said, there were additional unserved areas that we weren't allowed to include in the first ones, and the state had some different rules because it was 2 years later. So that allowed us to add to that grant to the tune of 7,000 address points in the county, but there's not that many houses per se. What you put down are address points. So it uses county data for where it says there is a 911 address. That doesn't necessarily mean there's a house there, but one day there could be. Yes, ma'am.
The white area going back towards Sampson County, that is not in that blue area, which is 5 miles down the road. Where do we stand?
Can
Going back towards Sampson County.
you point to it?
Yeah, like
Because
that's
mine
where he was just at.
My understanding.
We serve every single thing in
On the
Pender County.
highway level.
We serve everything in Pender County.
No, you don't, 'cause
5 miles which way?
Going towards Sampson County line,
All right, this is Sampson County.
yes, and we're there.
You're in Sampson County?
No, I'm just coming into Pender County, leaving Sampson, that's where I am.
Unless you live anywhere in here, if you're in this area, you're gonna get service.
I haven't seen.
Before I leave tonight, I'll get your address
I
and
haven't
I'll,
seen a line yet, that's
But
why I say I can turn to.
they're not building in that area yet. That's what we're just saying. We're waiting on those contracts to be built up there. Before we leave, I'll let you get your address and I'll prove it.
How could you just say the areas is in blue? If I'm in the blue, then I'm in there.
Yeah.
My
There is no white anywhere up here except for this section right through there. And I think that's because that's a road served out of Sampson County. We didn't cross the county line to do that.
What's the name of the road?
I don't know, I'd have to look at
My understanding is that is one house that is only accessible from Sampson
Yeah.
County. And
That's
Star
the Sampson
Telephone,
County
and
address.
Star Telephone grant covered that. They got a grant at the same time that we did to do the Sampson County.
Stringfield.
Miss Eagle May Drive sits right there. And then there's some wooded areas, and we are the first set of houses on the left coming into Pender County.
I'd love to get your address and
Yeah.
I'll.
Right there.
Yeah.
My understanding, when we did the project, is our project goes to the Sampson County line. And if you're on the,
There's no lines going that way.
That's the same thing that you were discussing Tuesday night with. They were asking, they were asking you, they were 4 miles short of the Sampson County line, and you stopped the vehicle just at, how was it?
Highway
that
11.
doesn't mean we
That
stop
doesn't
there
mean we
forever.
stop.
That just means
But
that
the
phase.
cables.
That's the
Yeah.
phase. We can't go any
Okay.
further with that phase until we get approved.
If you're there, your house is in the contract that we are waiting to get approved. We just haven't.
What's your
built
street
it yet.
address? I'll check it right now.
And enough, if you say.
What's your street address?
There.
What's
She lives on
Hey,
Highway
we're in the area where he said, the contracts in DC.
25756 US 420.
That's what he was saying, Ms. Newton.
Say it again.
I said, that's what he was saying, the contracts are in DC now for where you're at. They waiting to get approval, and then hopefully they'll start digging dirt and putting it in the ground.
There you go.
Thank you.
You had it, you listened Tuesday night.
Yeah.
weren't you?
No, I got clarification tonight.
She's my neighbor. Oh, she's my neighbor.
Oh, really?
All this thing was just done out here. Is that y'all or is that somebody else?
You're in our project in the blue area.
I have no idea.
Before we leave,
So
I'll
he's
give you my
telling us
card.
to go online and look, and we don't have internet, so I understand your frustration.
One thing we can, we'll hand out business cards. You guys contact me, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, give me a phone call. I'll make sure you get the information that you need. If you have a question about whether your house or your homes or your neighbors, whoever will be served, I'll make sure I get you that information. I'll take a picture of it myself. I'll screenshot it and get it to you. We're gonna take care of it. We promise you that. That's one thing that we vow to do.
How many cards do you have?
I'll hand out the business.
You can get it for me. I'll
There are a
take it.
number, I'll tell you, there's fiber all over. Especially on roads like 421 or 40 or whatever. There's fiber that goes down by a bunch of different companies. But that's sort of trunk fiber that goes from point A to point B that they may be doing something different. That doesn't mean that they do distribution to serve individual houses. So, there, you could see some FADS going by, I don't know exactly where they are in terms of if it's one of our crews, there's a high likelihood.
I know there's two categories you ran line, and there's like
Right.
5 lines in that.
Right.
There's a lot of construction on, because there's money in a lot of different hands. right now.
Fort County has fiber, to monitor their substations. And Chris mentioned the partnership with them, and I'd also say, it took us a while to get, we're having to build our network from the East Arcadia area of Columbus County and cross the river and come up and connect our network to the new Pender County network. And when you do federal contracts, you kind of have to go with the lowest bidder sometime. The first company that we used failed at the bore. And so we had to go back and find a company that specialized in doing that kind of bore, and they got that done. But Ford County already had some fiber under the river, and they were kind enough to let us use some fiber to get our first OLT up so that we could go ahead and turn service up. Now, we've since had our own fiber completed and are able to get back on our own fiber, but whenever we've needed to get to an area to turn an OLT up quicker, they've been really good to work with us on letting us do that. And some of the stuff that we're talking with them now is on that Maple Hill, Holly Shelter, Angola side. We may, in order to try to make the project go faster and to try to cut some cost on it, because when we applied for this thing, it was the end of 2019 and early 2020. Now, what's happened in the last 3 years? Inflation has driven up the cost of labor, and it's driven up the cost of materials, and the federal government hasn't given us any more money. So on the other side, we're probably gonna try to work with them to put it on light poles, which costs less to do, but it will allow you to build it faster. But what it does mean is during hurricanes and stuff, there may be more susceptible to getting knocked down. We prefer to put it underground in case there's a hurricane, it's more liable. But when you've only got so much money to try to get it done, you get it done how you can get it done, and if it gets knocked down in a storm, we go back and put it up fast.
All right, any other questions? If not, we want to give them a round of applause to them. Mr. Dodge and Ms. Carolyn Moses from Well Water Safety is going to do a presentation now.
Raise your hand if you want Mr. Ryan Hill's business card.
Just has me and you receive
I know when Leo left, started pouring on I live out
Sir, can I get a copy, please?
Yes, sir. There you go.
Can I get two of those business cards over here?
Oh, yeah. I don't know how to plumb, but yeah.
Does everybody have a handout? Anyone not have a handout? Please raise your hand.
Can anybody who doesn't have a card take a picture of someone else's card? I'm doing
Somebody got a card?
I'm sorry.
You're good. Can I take a picture of your phone?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Vincent Dodge. I'm with Banner County Environmental Health. I'm the supervisor there. Our director is here, and we have also two of our Board of Health members with us this evening also. I was asked to come here tonight to talk to you about one of your options for water. And that comes from my department. It's called a private drinking water well. That is a permit that comes from my office, no one else, that you own the well on your own property. It belongs to you, no one else. Tonight, we're just gonna talk about a few things about well contractors. Next example, please. Water testing, some treatment options, that kind of thing when it comes to your own private well. Okay, next, sir. All right, wells and groundwater. What is groundwater? Does anybody really know? It's just water is held inside the earth. We have two aquifers here in this part of the county. The better aquifer is about 200 feet deep. It brings up far less minerals, far less organics and metals from it. It's cleaner, if you will. Been on the earth a lot longer. So that's where the good water sits. If you have a shallow well, you're bringing up a lot of that inorganics and metals that come up from the first aquifer. They're about anywhere between 50 and 100 feet. Most of the wells today are going about 210 feet deep, ballpark. Depending on what that aquifer at that point is telling the well driller. So it all depends on what he finds when he's shooting a hole in the ground. About 27% of us use groundwater here in North Carolina. A lot of us here on the coast, a lot of us have a well. I'm lucky I have a well and I have county water on my property. But I use my well for everything but inside the house. Washing the truck, washing the dog, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not using county water for all of those things. I was sort of lucky. My house was built before county water was run through. So we tapped on when the county ran it through. So, yes, sir. All right. There's a lot of information for you guys. If you own a well, there's a lot of information out there. First of all, once you obtain a permit from us, the well driller that you hire must be licensed by the state. No one can just put in a well. Technically, you're not allowed to put in your own well unless you don't have a rig to do it. So you've got to hire somebody to do it. They call in for inspections with us. They let us know when they're going to do it, what time to show up for all the inspections, and everything that goes along with that construction of the well. There's about 5 stops it takes for us to get to your well from the day they permit it to the day it's done. There's probably 5 different inspections or 5 different visits from my department. So it takes a lot. If you'll go to the self-serve, you can actually apply for permits. We have a portal now for permitting, or you can come to the office. I recommend you come to the office. The portal is not the best, it's not the friendliest portal in the world, to be honest. I don't like it that much. So if you come in and see Dana at 803 South Walker, she'll walk you right through the process. If you guys are replacing a well on your property, there is a small fee of $100 which covers our well kit sample. That's what we pay the state to buy the well kit that we take samples for. We don't make any money off replacing your water. We want you guys to have a potable water source. So there's no fee for us. But you'll see us a lot, about 4 or 5 times on the property. But we'll always let you know we're there. We're about to drive big bike trucks, so you can't miss us. There's a lot of, when you build a well house, don't keep chemicals in it. You don't want to keep your pesticides in there, not your dog food. Keep everything away. If you put a fake rock on it, put it big enough so you can put maybe a heat lamp in it during the winter if you have to. But it will have power source. There's several different kinds of spigots on it for sampling and for irrigation. If you want to put a hose to it. There's all kinds of different stuff for standards today. It's not like it was back in the day. They just put a cap on it and that was it. There's a whole bunch of different things about it now. Go ahead next, sir. When it comes to your well, we will come take samples. We send those samples to the state lab. The bacteria sample takes about 7 days to get back. The inorganic and the nitrate or nitrite samples take about 2 to 3 weeks depending on the workload at the lab. The most important one is the bacteria sample. You want to know if it's clean, doesn't have bacteria or fecal material in it. That's the important one, so that's pretty quick. The other ones are primarily for metals and nitrates and nitrites. The metals are primarily lead, copper, iron, and anything that might be in the water source itself. Depending on what the test results come back as is what we will discuss for filtration, maybe shocking it or another chlorine sample or chlorinate again, and we'll resample it. Make sure that we do get that bacteria out of it before you guys start using it. And all those samples will be collected by my staff. It's all carried right to the courier box. It goes to the lab that same night that we collect samples. And if you ever want to get your well sampled, you just come to the office. It's very easy to get your water sampled if you just want to know. I recommend sampling it every 2 or 3 years, just to be on the safe side, at least for bacteria.
What's
just
it
so
cost?
you know it's clean.
What's it cost?
$50 for a bacteria test. And we'll come get it. You don't have to bring us water or anything. You just come in, fill it out, and we'll be there Monday through Wednesday. It's the only days that we can take samples. It's the only day the lab will take results. We'll take our samples. Next, sir. This is our application for a new well permit or a well repair. Very simple. I just need your name, address, verification that you do own your property. Tell me why you're here, what you want. You'll check a box, sign a date on the bottom, and we'll get you in the computer system, and we'll probably be there within a couple of days for a well. If you have no water, we're going to try to make it that same day to get you a permit. If you apply at 4 o'clock that evening, I will probably be there first thing in the morning. Just so you have a permit in hand so you can hire somebody to get you a well. I don't want you to do without water for any kind of period at all. Okay? For a new well, we usually work those in with all of our septic systems and everything else that's going on. But if you need a well repair, please come see us and we'll knock it out that same day. We'll get out there. We usually will permit those real close to your existing well if it classes or something because you've already got power to it. So it's real easy. You just connect onto it and keep on going. Next, sir. That's the second page where you'll just tell us what you're doing, what you're here for. $100 fee for a well repair. You'll sign and date it, and that's it. Easy peasy, in and out. Next, sir. Well water treatment will depend on what comes back on the test results. If you have a lot of iron or metals in it, there's going to be different types of filtration you can get. If it's bacteria, we're going to shock it again, and then we're going to resample it to make sure we get all the bacteria out of it that we can the second time. It does happen about a third of the time that there is some kind of bacteria in it. Very few times is there fecal material in it. Very few. But you will get some type of bacteria during the construction period. It just happens. But the second time we usually get it out pretty good. In order to shock a well, you've got to take it apart, find out how much water you actually have in your well, in the column of water. You have to do some math and a little bit of measurements. That will determine how much chlorine will go into that well. You will then turn on the pump and put a hose into your well and flush that well for about an hour. Just let it run on itself. Then you're going to put the well back together, turn the well back on, and fill up all of your faucets and open up all your faucets in the house. Electric pipes still up. Once you smell bleach, turn them all off. 12, 24 hours later, you turn everything back on and you flush it. So all the bleach is gone, you can't smell it. And then that's when we will come sample your water. And we're going to take the sample from your well itself. But we're going to test it for chlorine before we take a sample. If we test chlorine in it, we're going to get you to run it off some more until we get no chlorine on our test. And then we're going to take a sample. And again, if we get test back, we'll come back after you chlorinate again and we'll resample.
If you got bacteria in the well, is that just in the well or is it coming out of the ground?
It could be from the construction itself, and or there's iron bacteria that actually live in our water. It will give you a positive result, but it's not fecal. It's not as harmful as fecal. Fecal will give you very, very bad problems. But you can still try to get it out with chlorine shock. But yes, iron sulfide does live in our water and in our rock formation and everything else. So yes, you might have some form of bacteria inside your well there. As long as it's not fecal, we're okay. So it's not bad. Next, sir. PFAS and Gen X, we all know it's here. If you want to, you can still get on Kenmore's list, but my understanding now that they are limiting those tests to certain places where they haven't found them. They're not collecting samples from everywhere. You got to meet their certain criteria to be sampled now because they know it's here. Depending on what they find, I've read a couple of the results. They're also breaking down into primarily into acids. That's what they're coming back as. Depending on what that acid is how it affects the body. So if you do get a test result back and you come back positive on something, you want to find out what we have on it, the information, how it affects the body, please come see me at the health department and we'll talk about it. I've got a lot of the information stored on my computer, what they are, but they're primarily acids. Yes, sir.
Are they finding that stuff in the well water also?
That's where that's what Kenmore's is testing, is from wells.
Oh, okay, I thought they were finding it, from the Cape Fear River where they were pulling water. for
They're
that.
doing that also from the rivers and from people's groundwater at their homes. If they're coming back positive with certain tests, Kenmore's is providing filtration systems, reverse osmosis, bottled water, all kinds of things to get that fixed until they can get on possibly public water. But who knows when that'll be. Sooner or later.
So on the public water, are you saying that it doesn't have the forever chemicals in it?
I'm gonna let James discuss that with you
Okay.
tonight,
All right.
but yes, there are possibilities, yes.
Okay. All right.
For sure. Next, sir. That's a distribution of the positive test results that we have in the county, that we know of, most recent. So there's a lot in Hampstead, there's a lot on the I-40 corridor, a lot in New Hanover County, and just a little bit on the west side, which is a good thing for us on this side. Not nearly as much. Don't know why it's on one side of the river versus the other, who knows? Only Mother Nature knows that answer. Who knows? I thought about it a couple times, but I can't. Who knows?
That blue line, the I-40 corridor.
That's the river. That's the river, sir. That's the river. I-40 runs right here.
Okay.
That's I-40 in Kinder.
Not only big river.
Yes, sir. You move the river. But we don't have nearly as many positive tests on this side of the county. We don't know the answer to that. Kenmore is not required to give me their results. They're not required to.
How do you get those results?
I'll have to direct that to my health director for that one. I just beg and plead with the people in Raleigh and DWQ out of Wilmington to give me some kind of information. But they're not required to give me any kind of information that they want. They don't have to report to me or anything. Which I wish they would, but that way I can answer that question. Sir?
They have to report to the state, and that's the most current map as of October 1st. So anything that's a green dot means that you don't have a high amount of PFAS in your water. And most of those dots up even close to the western end, they're all green. So it's really not been identified in this part of the county.
There are tests out there, it's just not in abundance here.
How many wells were tested?
Total number, sir, I do not know. 186. Yes, sir.
You said county population close to 70,000?
Close to 70,000.
Thank you.
Next, sir. After flood, we all know we're gonna get one again. Hurricanes do come. If your well goes underwater, do not drink your water. Turn off the power to your water before the hurricane comes, just be on the safe side. Do not drink your water if it goes underwater. Flood. We will take samples, once the power gets back up, we can get out back in the county, we will take water samples on everybody's well. But it will have to be chlorinated. You're gonna have to call us and request us to come get a sample, we're gonna tell you to chlorinate it, get the power back to it, and once it's chlorinated, we will come get samples for you. There's no charge on that after a storm. We just hit the roads running as hard as we can, as soon as we can get there, we can. I put 100 bottles in my truck and I go. Just depends on which direction. There's 7 of us in my department, and we all head out in different directions. Just try to get the roads running. But do not drink the water after flood. Please. Yes, sir. And that is wells in a nutshell, guys. If you need me or my department, my number's up here. We're at 803 South Walker Street, right there in Burgaw. Can't miss us, we're in the building in the middle. We're stuck between all of them.
Everything you talked about is in this.
And everything is in the handout. But if you guys ever want to come see us or call me, please do. We're always around. There's somebody there. We'll help you you out as best we can. Any questions?
I want to say thank you, because I did not know you were going to be here. Thank you.
Let's give them a big round of applause. There are applications for wells up here, if anybody wants to take one or whatever. There's information about iron in your water, and there's also a separate card that has the online site that you can go to ask for a water test, or the phone number that you can call to come in and talk to me. What is the number? It's 259-1233. 259-1233. And that's in there. That's in the PowerPoint. Send that to the video.
Sure, go ahead. I made a mistake, guys. Total wells in the county that were sampled were just over 4,500. Ones that came back hot were 186. Okay? So yes, there has been a large spread of wells tested in tender. We have a small number that came back positive. Very little on this side of the county. Sir? Primarily reverse osmosis is what we're doing now. You can't put in another well, but you can pull it from the same aquifer work and maybe you can get the water.
Good.
Just put over stress a little bit. Anybody need to stand up stretch, or we good?
We're all been sitting around. Do you want to take about 5 minutes? Yeah, stretch it out. Do that, you'll be fine. It seems to be fine. All right, I'll tell you what. If you need to stretch, go ahead, get up. We're just going to be stretching for the rest of us. Let's go ahead and start this presentation. My name is Anthony Colon, and I'm the Pender County Utilities Director. With me tonight is Mr. James Proctor, he's the Deputy Utilities Director. And to my right is Mr. Brian Terry, he's our new Water and Sewer Superintendent. The three of us are fairly new to the county. James, I've been with the county for 4 years. I used to be in the county for 2 years, went away, and then I'm back now. Today's my 4th day in the job. St. Louis it is for Brian Terry. Tonight we're going to be talking to you all about water and sewer. I see a lot of faces that I saw last Tuesday. This is good to see you all again. For the new faces that we are here tonight, James has put together a presentation, and he's going to be talking about our water system, how it's supposed to operate, and what is happening in present and what's going to be happening in the future. I would appreciate if you let him finish his presentation, and when he gets done with his presentation, we're going to give you a brief moment for you to have all your questions, and we will answer them as well. With that being said, I'm going to leave you with my friend and Deputy Director, Mr. James Proctor.
Good evening. Glad to see people that were also with us on Tuesday night come back. Hopefully everything matches up to what I said on Tuesday night. I think it will. One of the things when I got home on Tuesday night was running things through my head, and one of the statements that somebody made in the audience, and I kind of kicked myself sitting on the couch that night, was somebody said, well, you know, I pay taxes and I deserve water. Thank you for paying your taxes, but your taxes have nothing to do with the water enterprise. It's an enterprise fund. We get no funding from your tax money. Your tax money goes to the health department, the police department, fire department, Parks and Recs. We are Board of Education. Our money comes from selling water and sewer. So that's a real, and most people don't know that. One of the things I said in the last meeting before we get into the presentation was, I've been here approximately 4 years, live on Penderley, I have a women. And with that, everybody talks about how much growth has been on the east side of Pender County and no growth on the west side of Pender County, and how Pender County is spending all this money to put water and water lines on the east side. In 4 years, we have put in a half a mile of water line, Pender County has. That's all we put in the ground. Everything in Pender County has been put in the ground by land developers. They come in, they buy land, they pay for all of the infrastructure to go in the ground. Salters Haven, 380 houses. Pender County has got not one penny in that neighborhood or any other neighborhood in the last 4 years. All the way down to their water meter. When we go and the system is turned on and charged and tested, and we take that system over, the developer gives that whole water system and infrastructure built to our design for $0, because he can't sell those houses without water and or sewer, okay? Most people don't understand that. So I also want to use this as an education of how utilities work. Right now, with the developments in the past, our debt ratio, we write a check somewhere around $4.5 million a year every July 1st before any revenue goes to anything else. So we're carrying about $4.5 million a year of debt. And that's to help pay for lines that were put in the ground years ago. A lot of times when we get these loans, it might be a 0.5% loan, but the loans are for 40 years. A lot of people don't know and understand that. So I kind of want to get that out in front of us before we get going. Go ahead. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. And that's what happened approximately 6-8 weeks ago. A bunch of you came to one of the board meetings and started saying, hey, we want water. And without that, we wouldn't be having this meeting tonight and on Tuesday night. So we applaud you for having interest and speaking, and that is what this is being driven from. Tonight I'm going to talk about the present water system, future present upgrades in the works, talk about a little bit about the aquifer. Mr. Dodge also talked about. We've got 3 options, a little bit about funding, and a conclusion. Pender County Utilities is an enterprise fund. Again, all of our money comes from selling water and selling sewer. Right now, Pender County has no residential sewer. The only residential sewer in Pender County, Maple Hill, has approximately 250 houses. That was put in on a USDA grant about 9-10 years ago. But we have no residential sewer in Pender County. There's a lot of private sewer on the east side. One of the projects that I'll get into in the next slide is, for the first time in Pender County, starting, I think we're going to start sometime in January of 2024. We're putting 5 miles of sewer down 421 and down Blueberry Road. And we have a wastewater plant at the Commerce Park, and that 5 miles of sewer will go to the wastewater plant at the Commerce Park. And we will have plans to possibly extend that as time goes on. We have 1,175 miles of water lines in the ground. We have 1,200 active metered accounts. We bill about 41 million gallons per month of water sold. The 421 water plant that's right beside the Commerce Park generates about 1.7 million gallons a day of drinking water. We have 2 emergency wells that can make up to 800,000 gallons a day. And then we have an account with Wallace. That account with Wallace was a 40-year agreement with Wallace. It was good for Pender County. I wouldn't say the finances were necessarily good for Pender County, but the water was good for us. When I got here 4 years ago, we were not taking any water from Wallace, but we pay for 1 million gallons of water a day, whether we take a drop or not. And that total resets every 24 hours. So if I take 1 million gallons today, I pay X amount of dollars. If I don't take any for the next 20 days, I still pay just like we took it. Right now, we're taking somewhere between 600 and 800,000 gallons a day. And you would say, well, why aren't you taking 1 million gallons? The size of the lines can't handle that much flow and pressure from that one direction. Future and present upgrades we're working on. In January 2024, like I said, the 5 miles down 421 and Blueberry Road with sewer. We have 3 emergency wells that we're constructing right now and a 500,000 gallon water storage tank in Scotts Hill. That tank is erect. It's in the process of being sandblasted and painted. That's a 500,000 gallon tank, so 500,000 gallons of water above ground. That'll give us 3 above ground tanks in the Hampstead to Topsail area. We are in the process of purchasing approximately 800 acres of land in Hampstead to build a membrane water plant. All of the water that Pender County makes that comes from Brunswick, that's another thing we can talk about. On the Brunswick, we buy the water out of Brunswick County, and that water comes from Lock and Dam 1. And people would be like, well, we've got a river in Pender County, why don't we just grab the water there instead of spending money in Brunswick County? The reason why is there's a dam called Lock and Dam 1 in Brunswick County, so what that prevents is any salt water coming up the river. We can't treat the salt water, we can only treat the fresh water. With the technology we have, it's 7 times more expensive to desalinate water than it is to process fresh water. So with that dam, Brunswick County gets that water, New Hanover County gets that water. We get a small piece of that. Somebody in here also, when Mr. Dodge was up, asked about the PFAS. There's PFAS in the Brunswick River. The water plant we have, before we knew about PFAS, we had carbon filtration, which is one of the medias on the back end that helps polish the water. It was put in to remove organics, but it also has the ability to remove PFAS. And we are at about 50%. I think the limit right now, the EPA imposed 2 or 3 months ago, is 4 micrograms, and we're at 2 micrograms, so we're at about 50% of the allowed amount for PFAS. We just put in a application for grant with the state last week. They are doing some things around PFAS studies, so we're trying to get some grant money for that, to possibly look at putting in other filtration at our water plant to remove more water. What the hope is that a large part of the PFAS came from the DuPont facility outside of Fayetteville. All of you've heard all about that in the news. They created a 1 mile wall that went 20 feet down in the ground. They inserted wells so they would capture all of that groundwater that was going to the river. And then that material is being treated. As that's being treated, the PFAS that was going into the river diminished tremendously. So the hope and the thought is, as the concentration starts getting lower going to the river, everybody's PFAS that is distributed will continue to drop. And we've seen some of that over the last few years. The reverse osmosis plant that I was talking about for the 800 acres, we'll be putting in approximately 10 to 15 wells, and it can go up to 3. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Apologies. It was just about the 5 mile bit. 5 miles of public sewer down 421 to Blueberry Road.
Yes, sir.
Where's the originating point? What section? What 5 mile section?
So it's going to start at the Commerce Park, come down 421, and then go down Blueberry Road.
Commerce Park. Where is that?
The Commerce Park is right there on the county line on 421, where Acme Fish and I'm not sure. But that's where it was designed to start. It'll be residential and commercial sewer.
You said they're still dumping into they put the mile wide, 20 feet down the wall, install wells. The implication is that they're still dumping?
No, the implication was the PFAS was coming from the plant and it was in the groundwater. So they put this wall 20 foot down in the ground to keep that groundwater from going to the river. And then they put injection wells in to pull that groundwater up to treat that groundwater. And then that water's not going to the river to minimize the PFAS that was going into the river through groundwater. Yes, sir.
Would you explain who's doing that?
That was DuPont, EI DuPont Chemours in the Fayetteville at their plant.
Should problems arise, let's say hypothetically we start having issues like some of the people farther
Sure.
down that area start having, is there any system in place to properly channel our issues to the responsible entities?
Sir, the Division of Water Quality, the Division of Environmental Quality in the Cardinal office in Wilmington, they have a group of people that are monitoring what is going on right now with Chemours. On our part, like James mentioned to you, we have granular activated carbon at our water treatment plant, which is a great technology that it reduces greatly the amount of PFAS that we are dealing with in the water. As in right now, since PFAS was discovered, actually PFAS have created more jobs than our government. There
When
are
was
now.
PFAS discovered?
That is correct.
I said, when was PFAS discovered?
And I happen to be working for Cape Fear Public Utility when all this happened. And it started way back in 2012.
I saw a report that said the federal government sent public officials information on it in 2007.
So listen, in our area, okay, 2012, the SUNY Water Treatment Plant in Wilmington was doing a study of the water that it was being received from Lower Cape Fear Water and Sewer Authority. During that study, the results came in, and there was a compound called Genex. That compound caused everybody's attention because since then, the only thing that we knew at Genex was the Generation X. So then we started looking into it, and we realized, okay, this is a compound that is showing up, and the media picked up on this fairly quickly, and it created an investigation. The investigation drove everyone to Chemours, and that's when all this came out. How long has it been in the water? I can't tell you that because I'm not part of that investigation. But for this area, since 2014, we've been addressing this issue. Pender County Utility originally built the water treatment plant in 421 and installed granular activated carbons. But their main purpose was to address the organics that were coming in the raw water. Consequently, we were blessed that that is the technology that you use to address this issue. And right now, we monitor it constantly. We're looking at improving the system so that we stay ahead of the game. With the new plant coming in, the membrane plants, that's a more stringent technology because that one removed 100% of it. So all these technologies, Pender County is already ahead of the game. All we got to do now is stay on top of it, maintain it, and stay in compliance. Did I answer your question, sir?
Enough for now.
All right, thank you.
Another one of the projects we're working on is automatic read meters. So that basically means that if you were getting public water, you would have an app, and that app would be attached to your address. You could see your usage by hour. And what that also will help is like if you have a leak, if you use greater than like 20% of your average, then we would get an alert when we came in the next morning. We could contact you and say, hey, is anything abnormal going on? Because we've seen a spike in water usage. That also will help us try and prevent from water loss, and also people getting billed for water they didn't get any benefit from. We've already talked about our utility debt. This is the diagram of the aquifers. Mr. Dodge talked about that. Most of the shallow aquifers in our area is in the Castle Hayne and the deeper that we were talking about, and the PD. And he talked about the depth, and by doing a deeper well, the water quality improves tremendously from having the iron and manganese in it. I went through having to put in a new well back about 6 months ago at a cost of between about $8,600, right at $9,000. Right down on Penderley, the existing well was 46 years old, had a cast iron casing. The casing rusted out. There's no way to repair a casing in the ground, so I had to go through and dig a new well. Got good water quality. It took about 90 days for the well to clear up after it was drilled. That's going to be one of our options also to talk about. Basically there, Castle Hayne Aquifer starts, depending on where you're at in the area, 65 feet to 1,000 feet, and it averages at around 143 feet. The PD Aquifer is what you get the better water in the Castle Hayne Aquifer in that 65 to 143 feet. That's where your iron and manganese is. Your PD Aquifer, 114 to 1,800 feet, with an average of about 164 feet to get to the water that doesn't have the iron and manganese noticeable in it. Then the Black Creek, which is your higher pure water, but we're talking about much deeper in this area to get to, which isn't really reasonable. One of the options is to extend water down 421 to the Sampson County line, where we have a water line on this map over here. Feel free to come up and look, and also look at it at the end of the evening. Anything in blue is where we have water. This would be coming through on the 421 and then Highway 11. And we would be talking about running from Malpass and then coming back through to the Sampson County line. As the bird flies, it's approximately 11. Yes, ma'am.
Would you designate the different water districts using
Sure.
that map for us as a frame of reference?
Sure. So this is the Columbia Union County district, the Moores Creek district, the Rocky Point Hampstead district, and the Central Pender district. And then this over here is self-contained Maple Hill. They don't get water from Pender County. We actually purchase water from Onslow, Onwassa, for that system. With that 11.5 miles as the bird flies down 421, we would be looking at approximately a 12-inch line to carry water to the end at about $1.2 million per mile. So just to get to the Sampson County line, we're looking at approximately $14 million. And that's nobody getting any service. That's just running a line to get to the end of Sampson County. And right now, anything that gets fire protection has to be 6 inch or greater, the diameter of the pipe, and approximately about $750,000 per 6 inch mile of pipe. This method would be a great option, but there's not enough customers to use the volume of water contained in the line, and more water would be wasted flushing than would be consumed.
What was the last survey taken on that? What was the last survey taken on the amount of people to hook up
For
this area?
I'm giving facts as far as what a mile of pipe in the ground costs. That not for what it would hook up.
No, he asked the question, when was the last survey taken that how many people y'all estimate would sign to hook up to that line?
We haven't done a survey. That's what this meeting right here is starting. Also, if, like when the USDA ran some of the lines in here, in the county, people were given an option of $120 and $150 to sign on to the system. Some of those people paid and didn't get water. When the grant ran out, that's where the line stopped. If there's no grant to extend water, and Pender County was to do a loan to extend water in an area, it's $5,700 for a 3/4 inch water tap. That's one option. Next, option 2 would be citizens that are in areas that have very poor water quality, could pay to install a deeper well. From the shallow well they have, if they have a lot of iron and manganese, what I used was a ballpark of what I spent between the $8,000 and $9,000 range. If I took that and I compared it to paying $5,700 for a water tap and using country boy math, $50 to $70 a month for a water bill and about ballpark of 40 months, you're cash positive, meaning you would have paid for that new well in about 40 months. Yes, sir.
But then, what about softener?
I don't have a softener and I don't need a softener with the well that I have. But like I said, I'm much deeper. I'm about 215 foot deep.
Yeah, they put chemicals in to treat whatever problems you have, I think, on the softener.
There is filters that can be used for the iron and manganese. It's another cost.
And the hard water.
And the hard water, yes, sir. And this is, like I said, this is just one option. But it's also at a cost of $8,000 or $9,000 to a person to spend that to get to a deeper well and better water quality. Next option. Option 3 would be kind of like what we've got in Maple Hill, where we start gathering information, figuring out where the concentration of people that want water, and if we can find a big enough pocket, then it might be an option for a small water system, whether it be a community well. One of the attendees on Tuesday night had a 4th option that we hadn't put on the table. The person said, hey, I can see Sampson County from my backyard and I can throw a rock and they got water in Sampson County. Well, you know, we're buying what we bought water from Chinkopin and then changed over from Chinkopin and Maple Hill to buy water from Onslow. There is no reason why that could not be an option to buy water from Sampson County. From Sampson County.
And that was your idea, so give yourselves a hand.
If they have extra water to sell. So that will be something that we will also take in advisement. Look, our biggest problem is going to be, we talked about this on Tuesday night, is getting a database of concentration where people are that want water. And one of the things I said on Tuesday night, every single person is not going to get water. And the reason I say that, because of it being an enterprise fund, if you've got a mile of line and you've got one house a mile away that wants water, that $60 a month and that $5,700 tap fee won't pay. So to pay back that $700,000, you're looking at what, 200 plus years? That there's no way anybody would invest $700,000 for one house. But financially, we are governed to be cash positive, not cash negative. If we, as an enterprise, do not break even, and I won't say make a profit, but break even, then we do not qualify for grants and loans. We have to be able to show we have the ability to pay back that grant and loan. Without that ability to show that, we can't get money to do any infrastructure. And also for an elevated tank, it takes 300 connections to warrant that. If it's less than that, we can do hydropneumatic tanks or pressure booster systems. Funding is done by several different entities. You have Golden Leaf, you have State Revolving Fund, grants, low interest loans. The recommendation that we will take out of these meetings and we'll take to the board is to request for qualification and proposal, to ask the board to give us permission to contract with the engineering firm to do a study and to gather data on pockets of where concentration and need and want is. Yes, sir.
Anytime you say, I'm going to have questions. Anytime you see me, I can wait until you finish.
Okay.
Just
Thank you. I'll talk to you as long as you want to talk tonight.
This is specifically about funding.
Sure.
From what you're explaining, it seems to me that you're a private business, right?
We are.
So utilities, when it comes to just quality of life and necessities, we get it, you know, it's not the most populated place in the world. but we still have these needs.
I
So if you
understand.
be in private business, many of us understand you're in it to make money. So maybe a lot of our questions aren't really for you. Unfortunately, it might
Ours
be
really isn't, our point of view really isn't to make money. We just have to be self-sustaining. We just have to be able to pay our bills like everybody else in here at the end of the month. We have to have enough money so that all of our people that we borrowed money from get paid.
Well, our idea is not to smell eggs anytime before.
Oh, I agree.
You know,
Absolutely.
I actually have a cousin that got kind of sick, and his doctor attributed it to him brushing his teeth with this water. He had to leave the county, leave the state, and went to Maryland. And it was that when I kind of started paying more attention to.
Absolutely.
But I don't think any of my questions are for you. For all intents and purposes, you seem like a pretty decent, honest guy.
I appreciate that. I'm talking to you just like we're sitting at the house talking on the couch. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm kind of simple and raised in the country too.
It's like, it's new to you that we're bringing this to your attention, but
It
from what
is.
I understand, I had a great uncle that just passed this past May,
Sorry
and
for that.
he had been coming to BOC meetings for a while, and it's been brought to people's attention. So what needs to happen tonight in order to push this forward? We need to move the needle.
And what I had told you on Tuesday night, we will take a presentation to the board to ask for the permission to move forward with getting a firm to help do study and gather data. We will get something on the website so people can log in or help their neighbors who don't have internet or are not, or technology challenged to get names on. And what we really need is, we need names so we can put it on a map and see where the hot spots and where the most demand is.
I don't think any of us will have a problem writing our name and address on a piece of paper.
And we're fine with that too. Yes, sir.
Just in our district, is there a way we can help? Because I've been asking about this for years, and I've made a suggestion during elections to put out a survey on some election form, we weren't allowed to do that. And everybody comes here to vote, so how can we help out?
We'll let you know. We'll let you know. It's a process.
and I
Right
hate-
now, it's a grassroots, and we're working up.
I don't want it to sound like I'm kicking the can down the road because it sounds like that's been done for a long time.
That's not what
And that's not really the point of what we're here for. You gotta give us a little bit of time to get some things put where we can gather that data. So that when we get that data, I'm not having to ask for data multiple times. And no way to organize that data. And then in the meantime, like I said, we've got to put a proposal together to the board. That's about a 30-day process because it's about 3 weeks. The deadline works in 3 weeks in arrears. So as soon as we can get an agenda item on the board, one of the things that I promised is every 30 days, some kind of update of where we are in that process. Have we got an engineering firm? Have we got approval from the board? And where it's going? Not so that, like I said, I don't want to kick the can down. I live here. I'm going to see y'all at the grocery store and different places. You know, and like I said, I'm not a salesperson who is trying to sell you something. You live somewhere else. Okay?
Is there a way you can make sure that we know when it's being presented to the board?
Excuse me?
Is there a way we can be notified that it could be presented to the board so we can be there?
The other thing we could do is try and put
We
something.
grant the agenda in the Pender Post and Voice 10 days before the Board of Commissioner meeting. It's always printed and in the newspaper.
And we should be able to get the
And
county
online,
clerk to
right.
put something on the website saying, hey, this is the update. And we are also in the process of changing the website to a different style.
I'd like to propose that you take our information, you take our email addresses as well. That way, whenever it does get ready to come, granted that the meetings are at 4 p.m. and most people are at work and they can't attend them, they have to plan around them.
I understand.
People need to know in advance. No, that was mostly for.
Yeah, sure. I've got a piece of paper right here and a pen. As you walk out, if you want us to have your name and address, telephone number, there it is. Have your say.
Excuse me, can I
Yes,
say
sir.
something?
Yes, sir.
Wasn't there a bill passed in Washington for clean water where they're giving out grants for issues like this. And I'm wondering if we can move expeditiously before that money is given out and we don't get our fair share.
That is, yes, sir.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. And just like I told you Tuesday, they passed a policy that says that if a group has y'all come together, and y'all collect your signatures, and you can prove that within certain amount of population, you are willing, this is not like saying, okay, I'm gonna put my name in here and I might get the water. You have to be willing and make that commitment that you want that water. And there'll be a document that you will fill out. If there is enough of you in that area, and you are making that commitment with us that you are going to tie into this water line, we can then provide that to the USDA. And they will present that to their board, and then upon approval, then they will provide us the money based on how much of a water line we are going to be installing to provide you that water. Once that water line gets put in there, we will install a water meter, we will make a connection with the home, and then you will be getting potable water at that moment. But yes, you're absolutely right.
I appreciate y'all gentlemen. Like I say, you seem to have your ducks in a row, but we just gotta keep moving, keep the progress going. Because Washington, they're trying to get the money out as fast as possible, and before you know it, it's gonna be gone.
That is, and you're absolutely correct, and that's why it is important that you all together and the leaders of the community, because I'm noticing there are plenty of leaders in here right now looking at me, that you all get together, all right? Make a petition. Whether it takes signatures, y'all can put signatures together. You can bring that to our attention. We are going to have to do our homework as well. We're going to have to investigate what area. If you look at this map right now, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at right here, okay, this line right here is Highway 117. And out of Highway 117, there's already a line that it goes from Highway 11, that it goes from Highway 117 to Highway 11, and it meets on Pender Lee, on Pender Lee Road.
Right.
Here's where you guys, most of you guys are.
Right.
Okay, on the other side we have Sampson County. So there are two options in here. That if there's enough people in there, we can get enough funding if we can prove to the USDA. And the USDA, by the way, they like to install new.
How many numbers are we talking about? How many do we have to get this line complete?
Make it 25 to 50.
25 to 50, how many in here?
But here's the thing. It can't be like all over the place.
Spaced out, I understand. It makes
has
sense.
to be concentrated in this one area.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, if that comes in, then that gives us enough, that gives us enough for us to go down to the USDA and say, okay, we have the situation, we're asking for funding, that then goes to Raleigh, they revise it, and this process, it could either be as quick as a year, or it could take 2 to 3 years.
We can do 25 to 50, I believe that.
And that's the beginning with. And that way, James and I can go ahead and plot in the map and say, okay, here's the need. You know, we need to bring in this to an engineering firm, put a petition to the USDA, let's get a grant, and let's get this water going. 2 ways we can do it. We can provide the water that is already coming from Wallace to 117 going that way, or as was suggested, going to Sampson County and doing interlocal agreement. Now, Sampson County will have to have the capacity to provide the additional water to provide to us for us to be able to do this option. Okay? Did I answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And one of the things that would be great is if we had 2 pockets with 100 or 200 people. You know, that would even be, that would, and
well, let's get the word out.
Understand this.
Let's get the word out.
The more, the easier it gets. The more people that come to meetings and request information and say, hey, we want water. So, and then what would be great, let's say you've got a pocket up in the top and then a pocket maybe 12 or 14 miles away. And you don't have that many people in the middle, but they could then be joined. And that's how it would even grow even more so. Okay.
Yeah, and Mr. Proctor, to that point, we've seen several communities and enterprises that have been funded this year.
Yes.
We had in the state budget, and they're using their funding for water and sewer projects within municipalities or within organization boundaries. So one thing that I have suggested to local municipalities who have gotten unexpected monies during this budget year is to take that money and let's do some design work. Retain some engineering firms to look at their municipality, to look at their in-town water needs, get the design, and get the engineer estimate of cost so that we can submit it for next year's budget. Because quite frankly, in this day and time, if you can't get water issues and resiliency issues funded, you can hang it up forever and ever.
And a lot of y'all might not know, but Miss Jackie is on the water board for Brunswick County as one of the board members. So she there is also advocating for Pender County and water advocacy for Pender.
On a regional level.
On a regional level, yes, sir.
I have a question now. Well, go ahead, man.
My question was, with the grants you get, are you gonna get a grant for the senior citizens to help them, get the water? For the senior citizens. See, on the grants you were just talking about, it gotta be a certain amount of people.
Right.
But if you don't get the certain amount of people,
Right.
is there a grant for the help?
I have not seen any grants based on age. And that, I'm not saying they're not out there. I have not seen anything based on age. But if we could get grants.
Maybe they're thinking about rural development grants
Okay.
that are,
But if we
might
can,
be aimed toward retirees or
Right.
elderly.
but if we could get grants to put in a water system, with that grant, the hookup fees won't be the $5,700. It would be something like what other people have paid for in the past. And I don't want to give you a number, because if I tell you it's $200, and then 6 months from now, we're in a meeting and it's $750, you're gonna say, you told me it was $200.
Yeah, let's get that.
So I don't wanna put a number on anything, because I know it'll come back. You told me it was $200.
Let's get that straight, okay? Let's say I got 50 people right here, right now, and you all give me your signature, and you all give me your commitment that you are going to tie to that water line. It is you 50 people that are going to be what's called grandfathered into this water line, and we will do like a $150 to $200 to say, hey, since you committed to us to tie in, we will tie you in to the water for that
It's kind of
amount.
like being present to win.
Now,
It's kinda like-
everybody that come after you, then they will be paying the normal rate that everybody else pays.
We still get people on we still get people on a daily basis that says, hey, I just bought a house and my neighbor got water for $150. I said, that was 13 years ago. I said, you had to have bought in 13 years ago. They're like, well, I don't want to pay $5,700. I said, oh, I understand that. They said, but I'll pay $150. I was like, it doesn't work that way.
Okay, sir. Okay. Sir, I have a question to ask you. I guess you all hire these people to dig in the ditches and put these pipes down. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
One of the things I found out about with the people that have been hired before.
Yes, sir.
They dig those, they put those lines down, and then once that happens, the drainage in the ditch, it just clogs up. The water goes nowhere. So advise them whenever they come back to do others.
And that's where inspections after the fact, and we are also supposed to be held by DOT for that also.
They're not.
Right.
Okay, they're not.
Okay.
And that's one of the problems I just wanted to bring
No,
up.
I appreciate that.
Is that once they bring it, okay, you can hang it up because the ducts, everything is gonna come into your ditch.
I'm sorry, but that's happened in the past.
Yeah.
Our hope is.
And they still having that problem today.
Like I said, we haven't put any pipe in the ground now in 4 years since I've been here.
But it's still happening.
But we're not putting pipe in the ground.
Okay, whoever put pipe in the ground and hook up to the meter thing,
Uh-huh,
yeah, those guys that came out and did it,
okay,
okay, the
Okay.
water goes nowhere,
okay.
okay?
Yes, sir,
The water
thank
goes
you.
nowhere.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
Just think about one thing, after they do their job, running the line and all that, and what it costs them, from that meter to your house, you're responsible to pay for it.
That's true.
You gotta hire a plumber, he's gotta get a permit, and then he's gotta run that water line, he's gonna charge you so much dollar per foot. to
Right.
run
That's
that
right.
line. So
Because
that's
that
an extra cost.
$150 to $200 only puts the tap at the front of the street. And then there's a small, inspection fee with the health department that they have to verify that your well is disconnected from your house. And then the plumber runs the line to your house from the meter from the street. But thank you, sir. That's a good point. In closing, need to create a pilot project with real timelines and feasibility costs. Have those people and ourselves look to see what the grants are out there that can help bear cost to the areas that do not have public water. Determine the number of people interested in having water and understand there are limits to delivery of water to every person. And we're going to open it up now for questions.
So before we continue with the questions, I want to make sure that you all understand that James, Brian, myself, the county, we want to extend our system. We do. We want to provide water to the citizens. Of course, like I told you, James and I were fairly new in here. This really took us by surprise to know that there's this many people for so many years that have been promised that they were going to have service. And personally, I think it's unfair. But that's my own opinion. It is our desire to expand this area out here because we're getting, even James and I, we're concerned the east has already been exhausted. We need water on this end. Remember, bring water to this side of the county. With water, eventually we'll bring sewer. So then you got water and sewer. That also means development. That also means more population coming this end. All right, so there'll be more traffic. I want you all to be in perspective with this. All right. Any questions?
That focused broadband, the gentlemen that were here with that, you know, at his maximum at 5 megabytes per second up and down, for the normal household, that doesn't mean anything, but what that means something to is business. Business wants that high-speed network. So having that high-speed network, and I've seen that in other counties in the state. Wilson, North Carolina was 12, 14 years ago, they had some of the highest speed networks in the state, and they got businesses, big businesses, Goodyear, a couple other big businesses that came into Wilson because of that high-speed network. And as utilities can grow with that high-speed network, you will see growth. I know you've been waiting. Thank you.
Question.
Sure.
For the 50 or so residents that you need, if we were assigned, does it happen, can multiple people from the same household sign, or does it need to be here?
It's residences, not individual people. It's residences is what we mean. Yeah, it's residences. Yes, ma'am. You're not required to take any water.
But I want to buy that tap, I want that tap. in
You
my
can do
room.
that, and we've had people do that, because they're like, you know what, my well's not that bad, and I don't want to spend $50, $60, $70 a month for water. I'm going to buy that tap for $200. Now, when you buy the tap, you pay the base fee. So we have people that bought a tap 10 years ago that are still paying $26 a month because they have the access point. So it's not just $200 and I'm good till whenever my well cracks out. So understand it's that tap fee plus base fee. And that's just saying that you have the access to that. So keep that in mind. Sure. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you will have a document. You will have a document and you will be signing in, and you will have copies of that document, yes. So the question was, if you go ahead, if we get to the point to where, yes, we're going to install this water line, there will be a document that you will be receiving, okay? That document will be signed by you and it will be notarized, and you will get a copy of that document, okay? That is your certificate to saying, I paid for that tap, and you told me you were gonna put that tap in here. And from now on, you got that document that you can carry with you everywhere and say, here you go. Yes, ma'am.
Well, let me tell you, before the water lines got started down through here and we were paying that 120, they didn't give me no document, but I do have my receipt, and I don't have any water to this day, but I have that receipt.
Well, I assure you that as long as
So
I'm
we
in
didn't
this,
get any document.
as long as I'm in this utility, you will receive a document, because as
So
I
do
know,
I need to bring you that receipt to print me a document?
I'm pretty sure I got a copy of it. But if we're gonna do this, ma'am,
Before they even started the water.
ma'am, if we're going to do this time around, we're gonna do this thing right. And we're gonna have documentation so that you have a document and I have a document for the two of us. If something happened in the future, you can bring that document to me and say, hey, do you remember that night that you told me?
Don't you worry, I got my receipt.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
One of the ladies last week, she had her receipt with her,
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, the lady's asking a question. Yes,
One
ma'am.
of the ladies last night, her receipt was 2004.
Okay, well, I would like to see that. Excuse, sir?
You still honor the one from 2004.
You need that?
We
I
come
paid my money.
through here, we paid for that, and that was the end of it.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that you would honor it. In fact, they gave you the option to get a refund, or you could leave your money in.
Right.
Most of us left it in. Is that still, you still honor that?
Yes, yeah, I still honor that. Yeah, your money's still there, yes.
I got my.
Yeah, you got your socket. Yeah, so if you did that arrangement back then, and you have, yes, you still honor that, because up to this day, there's still people that show up in our office and say, hey, I signed for this, and we do have documentation that you'll sign.
20 years.
Yeah, 20 years ago. As a matter of fact, the last time I was here for 2 years, we did about 5 tackles. People that came in after 7 years, they said, we want our water now.
Yeah, I was going to say, excuse, well, how do you honor it if you just put the tap down and there's no line? Right?
So the people that pay their $120, they do have a water line going in.
No, we don't have the water line.
You do not.
No.
You do not.
No.
They do not.
No.
So then we need to talk, my dear, because like I told you last Tuesday, you know, we can't answer for our predecessors, okay? What it was done back then, we can answer for that. But I'm here now, so bring that to my attention, and let's, yeah, hold on to that, bring that to my attention. Yes, and then we'll talk. Yeah, so I want to learn what happened. Like I said, this took us by surprise. This took us by surprise recently. We were not aware that this was happening. And now, as I'm looking more deep and deep, I'm starting finding out great areas that need to be clarified. You might be one of them, okay? You can come to that, you can come to Burgon.
Come to Virgo.
Ask for Anthony and let's do business. Yes, sir.
So, if I buy a tax off 441, and you're gonna run water to my house, I'm gonna run water to my house from your tax. So I have to hire a plumber.
So if I tap in and I put a meter, from that meter to your house, that's your responsibility. So yes, you're gonna hire a plumber.
But it's only gonna cost me my sign-up fee amount.
Whatever you're, no.
I ain't talking about that part.
for your taxes.
Right.
Okay.
From our part, whatever we agree with, that's what we will pay. I need the signatures, I need the commitment,
Okay.
okay? Give me the signature, give me the commitment. We will decide what's gonna be the fee for this grandparenting so that we can tie in at a low cost. Now, remember this only applies to that beginning group.
Right.
After that, then we go to the $5,700.
Okay, now, you know, Tuesday night, there were a lot of people there, so for those individuals that are not here tonight, we need to make sure that they get the word, because I know that they are gonna be interested in signing as well.
And I hear you loud and clear, and this is where we have break parts, okay? You are a great leader, you know the leaders of the community. I'm going to do my part, which is maintaining the system and making sure that it is your responsibility to get together and go ahead and get all these people and explaining what is happening in the last 2 meetings and how they can go forward to get to work, right?
That's the gentleman back there.
Yes, sir.
I just have a comment. I've
Yes,
been a
sir.
citizen of Willard 13 years now. I've been a citizen of Willard here 13 years now. Not throwing any jabs at you guys, Miss Newton or anybody. But it just seems like Willard, it's a big area, and it runs funny, but we're last for everything. We need to be considered.
Yeah.
When you sit down with the government and these contractors, consider us, because we're last for everything. It just seems like we're the lost area of the county. And we can't sit down and talk to the big dogs and negotiate where you guys go and what's happening, but consider us. Because you guys sit up here, you talk about Scotts Hill, Hampstead, all those other areas. This is Willard.
Correct.
This is Willard.
And this is where I live, and what makes you think I don't consider you?
We're the ones that's here fighting. Do any other area have to fight this hard? Is any other areas coming out 2 or 3 times a
On
week to
the
meet?
east side, they were showing
Yeah, on the
up and
east side, they were
showing
showing
out
up,
for
yeah.
every meeting we had to get what they got.
But like you said,
This is how it's
developers,
done.
but like you said, developers came out there and helped build that with the water system.
And
We
that-
don't have that over here. We don't have that out
So listen, just like I told you earlier,
Yeah.
we start putting water lines in, that will attract business, that will attract development, that will attract.
Tax dollars.
Absolutely, yes, sir. And like I told you earlier, I can't answer for my predecessors, all I can tell you right now is
And I
me
appreciate it.
and Jerry, we're gonna do what it takes to get you
I've been
there.
informed the last 2 nights, more than the past 13 years trying to fight with my little community. I've been informed. But what I'm saying is, we need to be considered a whole lot more. Because it just seems like we're lasting everything.
I agree with you, and even looking at the map, the perspective, but I agree with you 100%.
Look at that.
All I can tell you again is that I'm hearing you, and I'm gonna do my best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So I was just stepped outside because you said that we have to buy a tap in order for you to run a line.
You have to, yes, sir, you have to make a commitment
Okay,
with
now,
me.
right there, stop right there. These people down here made a commitment made to them. What's to say that you guys will run out on the commitment that ran out on them? I'm from Philadelphia. You have communities that may have houses maybe darn near a quarter of a block or a quarter of a mile from each other.
Yes, sir.
So they ran those water lines, and they ran those lines knowing that someday somebody's gonna be using that line.
Absolutely.
And so what's to keep you guys from just running the line and letting the line go for future use?
So I'll give you an example. One of my predecessors did something similar to that. And right now, I got about 5 miles of water line with no one connected to it. And yet I am paying for that money that could be used to provide you with that water line that you want. Right now, I'm paying for it because the people that said they were gonna tie into it did it. So 5 miles of pipe, that's a lot of money. So what I'm trying to do, okay, and I'm protecting your interests, is that you make this commitment with me so that that water line that goes in there, it doesn't go in vain. All right? So that your children, grandchildren, don't get caught up with this bill. And that's what happened. And that's why I'm asking for the commitment, sir. Excuse me? We don't know yet. We will discuss that, but anyway, the last time was in between $150 and $200.
Okay.
Okay? But we haven't decided yet because those decisions have to be brought up to our board of commissioners, and they have to be approved by the county manager. I don't make those decisions.
So whenever you make a decision to run a water line, you only running it for a certain area.
Based on the
You get the money
population,
to run
based
for a
on,
certain
yes,
area.
yes. But,
If you're running it to run, throughout the whole area, then, like I said, you installing the line for the future, you're not installing it for today. So why am I, like I said, I'm from the city. I used to work for the Philadelphia Gas Works, and we had gas lines going everywhere.
Right.
And so the water lines went everywhere. Even though the houses on some of the streets in the neighborhoods, were torn down, abandoned, those water lines are still there. Whenever you build a new house there, you do
So
that.
let me tell you this, the difference between gas and water.
I notice a difference.
Okay, you put
I'm
gas,
just telling you,
you put gas out there and people have the demand for it. But for water, you can put your own well. You see what I'm saying? If I put that water line in there, thinking that in the future somebody's gonna tie in, what's stopping you from you putting your own well and never tie into that water line? You see, with gas, you don't have a choice. You cannot drill your own gas line. You cannot drill your own, but you can drill your own well. Okay, and I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm trying to give you a little perspective in here on why it's important for us to have that commitment. Okay, yes, sir.
I was getting ready to make, we've done an excellent job of asking questions and getting feedback. I want Samantha to emphasize again what she shared up front, because I think some of us forgot or we didn't understand. We are here not because our goal was to get information so we can understand the process. And what I know happened is that we didn't pay attention to the process. We've had opportunities to have one. For whatever reason, we did not go forward. So our goal is to say, here's where we are, how do we go forward from here? And that's the basis. That's the basis. You want to say anything about it?
Yes, I'll go back to 2006 and 2008, when we had a chance to vote on the water for our area. We voted against it in 2006, we voted against it in 2008. So the first step is we need signatures. We have to get out there, we have to get signatures. Now, there are just as many as you all here are for it. When we went out to the community, there's about just as many people that do not want the water.
That's right.
So they're not going to vote for the water.
That's correct.
So I think if we educate the people, your numbers will increase and we might just get the water for this area. But it takes work. And it's going to take the village.
That's correct.
And people need to understand, you will not be forced to connect. You can keep your well for the outside only.
And it will not raise your taxes.
And it will not raise your taxes. So we have to get out there and we have to share the information. And what I'm going to ask if the county guys would do is a fact sheet. So we can get rid of all these myths. If we get a fact sheet that we can carry out there that is from you all, so instead of them believing us, it comes from you all, then they'll understand.
It will not raise your taxes, but it may decrease your insurance.
Decrease your insurance?
Yes.
Okay. There you go. Well, then that is something that needs to go on a fact sheet that we can share out with others. Okay? Because people need to know you're not going to be forced to connect, but it's nice to have the option for your children, for your grandchildren, for the future of the rural areas that are struggling with these wells. And that's what we need to do.
Sir,
It's
thank you so
okay,
much.
everybody has an option. They have an option not to connect to the water. They have an option to vote no. But we need to increase our yes. For those who want the water, there's work to be done.
Been doing it for 12 years, quite how many years?
There you go.
Thank you for your participation, thank you for your questions, and we're going to continue this. Have a good night.
get me some materials over here from the health department, and there's more hand sanitizer on the way out.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, staff. You did a fabulous job.
Your purse.
No, it's working.